Well, the title of this video is right. We're just not talking about Legends of Runeterra. I wish that was April Fool's. So, pretty much out of nowhere, in the middle of all of Riot's games getting some kind of updates, the newest addition to Riot's roster of games also got some news. And while we are talking about Riot's card game, we are still not talking about Legends of Runeterra. But we are talking about their upcoming physical card game, which is also based on League of Legends, which was codenamed Project K. Now, a quick summary of what is going on here. In case you missed it, at the beginning of the year, Riot announced that they are working on a new physical card game, which obviously sparked some spicy debates. Mostly, people were mad that this game is totally gonna take some resources away from Legends of Runeterra. Why make another card game when your previous card game is already limping? Surely if you poured all of those resources into Legends of Runeterra you could have saved it? Well, not really. The truth is, other card games like Hearthstone or Marvel Snap are fine, but it's still very difficult for any card game to find a bigger audience. That's because digital card games are incredibly niche by default. However, by building a new physical card game on top of this, Riot can actually kickstart some synergies. For example, the making of this game should be quite cheap because Riot can borrow a lot of the art from Legends of Runeterra, so they completely avoid these additional costs, for now. And at the same time, Legends of Runeterra can get some new content out of this, because should this new game be successful, it can pay for new art, and so Legends of Runeterra can use it for their cards too. So by making a second card game, it should be a win-win for both games. And that's simply because both of these are in vastly different environments. On top of this, because Project K is a physical card game, some people, such as me, may not be interested in playing this game, but they may enjoy collecting it. But that is actually where a lot of the criticism went. Because when Project K was first revealed, the cards looked like this, which did not really make me want to collect the cards. And this is something everyone agreed on. Well, it turns out Riot was listening. And so yesterday, before April Fool's, thankfully, we got a whole new big update for the game. And now, things should be heading in a really good direction. And that's not just with appearance, but also, and I know this is gonna be crazy, with monetization. I know, unbelievable. So, let's hop into the news. So, yesterday we got the big update with Chengren, who is the executive producer of Project K, and Dave, the game director, whom you may remember as the director of Legends of Runeterra. And right at the beginning of the video, they get into an office full of sticky notes. And since it is me who is talking about all of this, of course I had to zoom in on all of those. And so now I can tell you that most of these are just potential names for the games that the team was coming up with a lot of these also being full of Easter eggs and jokes. For example, Clash of Fates, which of course is the original title of League of Legends, or Rift Bash, Rune King, and of course also, and I wish I was making it up, Skibidi card game. And yes, there are also some notes regarding some specific cards. For example, they wanna ban all Yasuo decks. But most importantly, there are notes focusing on redesigning the cards, which is where the video starts with this joke.
Haven't you seen the player feedback? We gotta get set 1 frames and card art right. Here, check this out.
And that's what gave me the full confidence in this project. Because as you'll see, in this video they show us what the new cards look like. And they look good. And so they begin by talking about how seriously they took the feedback, with most of it being people who wanted original art and refined UI. And so that's where the team focused. Specifically, they mentioned that our thoughts made them rethink some of their design choices. Meaning, it is possible they actually wanted to launch the game with those designs. That might have been a disaster. After which they do one of the bigger reveals. They scrap the codename Project K, and they reveal that the game's name is Riftbound. Now, Riot has a funny history with naming their products, where usually these names are memorable and they stick pretty well. And then there is 2XKO, which one of the sticky notes also made a joke about. But Riftbound actually sounds pretty good. So good job, the team that named the game. Just remember that the full name is Riftbound League of Legends Trading Card Game. So whenever you see a promo for this game, just be ready to read all of that. But this is all likely for legal reasons, because there already are some other Riftbound games, so Riot had to separate themselves. After which they quickly talk about the development behind this game. They recap that Riftbound is a physical TCG, where a lot of their devs come from the classic 1v1 card game era. But Riftbound also has a lot more. Because remember, in the last update we learned that this also supports team fights, as well as up to 4 players of free-for-all, with the team mainly focusing on this being an easy-to-learn game, which is also exciting to see at a higher level. Which sounds like something in line with the trading card territory. Remember, physical cards have 2 big issues. Number 1, it is usually harder to get into because you need real friends to play with. And number 2, these games are usually a bit more on the expensive side. But we'll talk about that later. And so they announced that the game will launch with its first set called Origins, which is giving me some Overwatch PTSD. The cool thing is that Origins will have 300 different cards, which is slightly above average, because these days card games are getting between 250 to 290 cards. Also, a fully built deck will have 56 cards, and yes, on launch there will be fully pre-built decks for purchase, including decks for Jinx, Victor, or Lee Sin. Which is where you may say, hang on a second, that is not art from League of Legends, nor Legends of Runeterra. More importantly, the cards actually look good. And indeed, next they show us the Yasuo card, and they show us what the cards actually look like. And here I can say, I'm down to collect these. Because truth be told, these look awesome! And later we will get even more examples of more cards that show us the new UI. So this is not just special art for the champions, no! All the cards look like this. With the key point here being, Riot listened to the feedback and they acted on it. This is actually unique art. And at the bottom of the cards you will actually see credit to the artists, with some of these even coming from Fortiche if they are based on something that happened in Arcane, and other times it might be an edited version of something we had in Legends of Runeterra, which is where it would usually be credited as Kudo's production. On top of this, Riot also mentioned that there will be special variants of champion art, which would be painted by Riot's very own artists. So consider those the rare foiled versions. Also, Riot won't show those because they don't want to spoil people. After which they start showing some units. For example, here is the Dead Bloom Predator. And here you can start noticing how they are reusing Legends of Runeterra art. It is not just a lazy slap into a window. They did actually re-edit it, they cropped it out so it separates from the background, and they blended it into the card itself. With the result looking pretty good. And again, you can see that the cards also have the credits for the artists. So next, they also give us an example of a spell, so here is Jinx's Rocket. And again, I'll be honest, I really love how the lightning is blending into the card UI. This is just really well done. But next, they also mention something very important. Since one of the big problems card games have is getting into them, Origin set will also have their own starter packs called the Proving Grounds. This will contain 4 fully built decks for Lux, Master Yi, Annie, and Garen, with all of these being specifically built for beginners. Now, we kinda already know what these look like and we know what they will cost, but more on that later. Speaking of which, they also announced that their partner in crime will be UVS, which is a veteran publisher when it comes to card games. They are behind pretty much every anime card game from My Hero Academia to Attack on Titan, as well as other really big brands. And because they are the publisher, they will also deal with distribution as well as dealing with local play. And that is when we get into the launch dates. Unfortunately for anyone from the West, the game will first launch in China this summer. After this, the game will launch for the majority of the English-speaking countries later in 2025. Now, there may or may not have been some dates floating around, and it is possible that it will actually launch specifically in October 2025, with the rest of the localized versions coming up later. After this, they also mentioned that they will be previewing this game during Riot's events, and they added that Set 2 is already designed, which is where they show us a table with what seems to be 3 decks of cards. Each deck should have what seems to be the champion cards, possibly energies, and the units. That's why each deck should have the black, white, and blue cards. Which means this should be 3 separate decks, so it's possible that in Set 2 we are getting 3 new champions on top of this. But while that's pretty much it for the information from the video, that is not it for the information we got. Because somehow, be it by accident or not, one of the retailers who partnered with UVS already listed what items will be on sale and for what price. And here things got really interesting. Because first of all, here we got the key art, which revealed that yes, Ahri is probably also gonna be a playable champion. After which we learned that the booster box will be up for $120. Each box will have one of those unique champion variants, and they contain 24 packs, meaning that should be $5 per pack, which is actually slightly below the classic $5.99 other games have. Now next, there are also the special boxes themed around champions, with each having 4 decks for $80, that is $20 per deck, which again is very affordable in the world of TCGs. But each of these boxes also has extra stuff such as some playable mats, a rulebook, as well as booster packs, meaning the overall price for a fully built deck is only about $15. After which they also show us the Proving Ground set. This is the starter pack for 4 players, which looks really good. Each player gets their own mat with their own playable deck, and they'll also get their own little figure to put on the mat. The best part is, this is only for $30. Honestly, that is a really good price for just getting into the game. And that is pretty much it for all the info we have. Meaning that the 2 biggest issues the game could have had are gone. The art looks really good now, it finally looks like a game that would be fun to collect, and the prices seem to be very affordable in a really inhumanely overpriced market. In fact, that always seemed to be the biggest complaint around something like Magic the Gathering. Each new promo was just an excuse to slap extra $50 on already really pricey cards. And so, it's really cool to see Riot tackle that, which honestly makes me really excited about getting my hands on this game. I'm not a guy with a lot of friends, so I'm not sure how much I will actually play the game, but collecting is something I like. Now remember, I'm a collector, not a hoarder, and so the one big outcome I would like to see out of this is this game getting popular, so it can fund its own new art, which can be used in Legends of Runeterra, and it can expand the canon universe.